All right, so this is our Unit 2 test review. All right, we're going to go over every problem that's on this particular review page. But here's what I need you to understand. Unlike your quiz, all right, the quiz where we had a video review just like this, on that quiz, the questions and answer choices were the exact same during the review as they were during the quiz, right? On this test, the questions will be a little different, okay? It'll be the same type of question, asking the same type of thing, but the numbers are going to be completely different and the answers are going to be completely different. So you can't just memorize answers, okay? So today, the important thing about this review is not so much the answers, but how we got to those answers. You understand? All right, that being said, I really don't think this is too tough of a test, okay? During, or whenever I send out the remind with the link to the video, just like I did last time, all right, I'll also send the first page of the actual test, okay? So you could look over the actual test tonight, all right? You won't know the answers, but you could go along with this video and see how to solve those answers, and you could work on it tonight and come tomorrow pretty prepared. Does that make sense? So see, I'm taking care of you guys. I'm just a big softie.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. All right, so let's get after it, solve some of these. Again, this is all going to be rational, irrational numbers, and scientific notation. That's all we've done this year. So all of this should be pretty basic review. Now, just like always, you'll be able to use your calculator on the test. And so while I can't do a video of the calculator, just be prepared for me to talk about using the calculator. For example, on the first one, we have 4 different fractions. If we put them in our calculator, the first one I try, if I do 5 over 30, I get 1.6 repeating, right? All right, it's asking for the repeating decimal right there, so that would be my answer right there. That one's pretty simple, okay? You can use your calculator to do all the heavy lifting. All right, you can plug all of those fractions into your calculator. All you do is 30 divided by 50, 13 divided by 25, 13 divided by 10. The only one that's going to give you a decimal that repeats is A. Make sense?
Yes, sir.
All right. Number 2, I'm going to zoom in on it just to make it a little bit easier. All right. It says a square rug has an area of 225 square feet. How long is each side of the rug? So we know the rug is a square. What do we know about squares?
All the sides are the same.
All the sides are the same. Side, 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 side. We know the area is 225. In order to get that area, we would say the side times the side gives us the area, right? That's how you find area of squares. We know that the area is 225. So what we're asking is, what number times itself is 225? Now, what does that sound like? Square root. It's square root problem, okay? What number times itself is 225? You can do square root of 225 on your calculator, and you get 15. If you do 15 times 15, you'll get 225. So that's another way you could solve this, is you could take every answer choice and square it and see which one gives you the 225. So that's a good way of solving it too. All right. It says, which is an estimate of square root of 14 to the nearest hundredth? What does hundredth mean? 2 decimal places. There's 2 zeros in 100, 2 decimal places. So already, I can get rid of what 2 answer choices? A and B. Those are rounded to the nearest tenth. 10 has 1 0. These are 1 decimal place. Not what we're looking for. All right. In our calculator, if we do square root of 14, it's an irrational number. So you get 3.74165. All right, which would mean our answer is D. All right, so again, very calculator heavy. All right, it says which rational number is also an integer? Okay, now, we know these are all rational numbers because they're all written as fractions. All right, an integer, if you think back, an integer is a positive or negative whole number. Okay, so one of these fractions is actually a whole number. So, let's change them to decimals. If you do 82 divided by 6, you get 13.6 repeating. Because of the 0.6 repeating, it's not an integer. 65 divided by 13 is 5. So negative 65 over 13 equals negative 5. Negative 5 is an integer. All right, so B is probably our answer. Now, if we do 43 divided by 5, you get 8.6, not an integer. 70 divided by 25 is 2.8, not an integer. So B is our best answer because it gives us a positive or negative whole number. Number 5 says, which statement is false? It says all whole numbers are integers. Now, all whole numbers are just positive whole numbers, right? Integers include positive and negative whole numbers. All right, so would that be true? All whole numbers are also integers?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, integers are positive and negative whole numbers. So yeah, so that one's true. We're looking for the false answer here. It says all irrational numbers are real. What kind of numbers are real? All numbers. So yeah, that's got to be true. Some integers are irrational. No, remember, once you're irrational, that's it. You can be real and irrational. Integers are on the other side of that graph that we looked at. All right, so that's not going to be true. It says some integers are whole numbers. Well, the number 3 is a whole number, and it's also an integer, so that would be true. So C would be our answer there. Okay, the thing to remember on that problem is this graph that we looked at. All numbers are real, then they're either irrational. Oh, I'm sorry, we normally put that on the other end, but that's fine. Or rational. Remember, they can be written as a fraction, decimals that repeat, and decimals that terminate. Those are rational. If they're rational, they could be integers, which we've already talked about are positive and negative whole numbers. And then they could be whole numbers, which are just positive whole numbers. Okay, so that's the graph that we're actually looking at there. Woo. All right. Which one of these is least likely to describe a distance below sea level? All right. If it's below sea level, what kind of numbers are we talking?
Negative.
Negative numbers. All right. So let's just say -3 or something. Okay. Well, first off, which one of these could not be a negative?
Whole number.
Whole numbers could not be a negative. The smallest whole number we can give you is 1 or 0. 0 is a whole number as well. 0 is not below sea level, is it? Okay. An integer, we could have -3, just like we wrote. A rational number, you could have -1/3. That's below sea level. And then obviously all numbers are real numbers, so that would be fine. So A would be our answer. All right. Number 7. Number 7 is probably the biggest pain in the butt on the whole test. It takes a little bit more work. All right, so what I'm going to do here is on my calculator, I'm going to say the square root of 14, which is 3.74, blah, 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 plus 6.2. That's going to be 9.94, and I'm just going to round it right there, 9.94. And then I have 3 times pi, 3.14, that gives me 9.42, minus 8.2, which gives me 1.22. So, is 9.94 less than 1.22?
No.
No, this is not true. So, which of the following are true? It can't be A, because we know that 1 is not true. It can't be D because they're not all true because we just said 1 is false. All right. So, next we have 17 over 5, that's 3.4, plus the square root of 64, which is what? What's the square root of 64?
8.
8. All right, so that's 11.4 is greater than 8 plus 3.14, which is 11.14. Is 11.4 greater than 11.14?
Yes.
No.
Yes. All right. If you add that 0, that's 11.40, right? Okay, so we got to make sure that we understand that there's more decimals. Okay? So, 11.40 is greater than 11.14. All right, so if we look at our two answer choices, we know that number 2 is true, which means it can't be none of them. So B is our answer. I don't even need to solve number 3. Just using common sense there. All right. All right, number 8. Which number is between 3 over 25 and the square root of 14? We did this on the last quiz. All right. The strategy here is to change everything into a decimal. If you change everything into a decimal, it's a lot easier to see where things fall. All right, so 3 over 25 is 0.12. And the square root of 14 is 3.74, and I'm going to stop there. All right, so we want something that comes in between those two numbers right there. All right, so first off, I've got 1 over 14. Put that in the calculator, you get 0.07. Does that fall in between those two? Nope, it's too small. Then I have 13 divided by 4. That's 3.25. That's greater than 0.12. Is it less than 3.74?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So that would fall right in there. So this one is probably our answer. All right, if we go square root of 20, you get 4.47, which is too large. 2 plus 3.14 is 5.14, which again is too large. So B is going to be our answer. So change everything to a decimal, and you can see where they fall into place. That's our strategy there. Since the numbers will be different tomorrow, you're going to need to remember that strategy. All right, the population of a large U.S. city is that. Which of the following is the best to express that? All right. Now here's the trick here. Did it ask for scientific notation? No, it didn't ask for scientific notation. So this is still an acceptable answer, right? We can't eliminate it because it didn't specifically say scientific notation. So let's solve these problems and see which one gets us a closer number. All right, so if I move this decimal 6 times, that's going to be a 2, a 7, and then how many zeros? 5, good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, 2,700,000, that's not too far off from that, so that's not a bad answer. Now we'll move it 7 times. So 1, and then 6 zeros. That's 27 million. That's a little bit farther away, isn't it? That's about 25 million off. So we're going to go ahead and say that's not going to be our answer. If we move this one over here 6 times, that's 1, 2, 3, with 3 more zeros. 2, 7, 0, 7, 1, 2, 3. All right, so now we're really close. All right, between A and C, which one's closer?
C.
C is closer because it's got that extra 7,000. So now we can eliminate A. Finally, on D, if I move it 6 times, that's 1, 2 with 4 zeros. So 2707 with 4 zeros gives me 27 million again. We can eliminate it. C would be our answer. All right. Tomorrow on the real test, take the time to change all of those into standard notation. All right, it makes it a lot easier. Take that time. Don't rush yourself through a test. All right, standard notation for this number right here. How many times am I moving my decimal?
7 times.
7 times. So that would be 1, 2, 3, and then how many zeros? 4. C is the only one that has those 4 zeros. So that's my answer. All right. Now we have a smaller number. Okay, we want to rewrite it into scientific notation. Now it specifically asks for scientific notation, right? What can I eliminate? C and D. Why can I eliminate those? They have more than one number in front of the decimal. That's not scientific notation. A and B both have one number in front of the decimal, so those are good. All right? So now, if you know nothing but that, you already have a 50-50 chance of guessing this right. Correct? All right, so here's where we moved the decimal. Here's where the decimal was originally. How many numbers did it jump? 3. So B is my answer. All right, so now we are on the back page. Okay, all of the back page, just like last week, is going to be fill in the blank. Okay, fill in the blank problems are not fun, but the good news is they're usually easier problems. So, number 12 is to rewrite this number as a decimal. What's the whole number? 4. That goes in front of the decimal. Don't overthink it. 4 goes in front of the decimal. So now, the only thing we actually have to change into a decimal is 3 over 8. So 3 divided by 8 is 0.375. Done. Number 13, 5 over 12 is a decimal. That's 5 divided by 12. That's going to give you a repeating decimal. All right. On your calculator, it would give you 0.416666666667. Do not write all of those numbers. It's the 6 is repeating, right? It's only got a 7 because it rounded up. Okay, I'm going to start counting off for that. You need to recognize it. It's 0.416, and that 6 repeats. That's your answer there. Put the line over the 6 so that I know it repeats. 0.416 is wrong. It's 0.416 repeating. All right, the 2 square roots of 1 over 16. All you do in your calculator is do square root of 1 divided by 16. You put all of that under your calculator, you'll get 0.25. So, 0.25, what would the other square root be? Since they want 2. Negative 0.25. There we go. Those would be the 2 square roots. Number 16, estimating the square root of 40. In your calculator, the square root of 40 will give you 6.32455532. That's what your calculator will read. We want to go 2 decimal places. 1, 2. So we're looking at this 4. Is that going to round us up or down? Down. So that 2 stays the same. If you round incorrectly, I'm going to count it wrong. Not because I'm mean, but because you're in 8th grade and we need to know how to round. Alright, there's no... If you're wondering why I skipped from 16 to 21, it's because I erased the hard questions.
Yay.
So again, I'm being nice. Alright, we need to arrange these from greatest to least. To do that, again, we change everything into what? Decimals. The same strategy. All right, 6.3 repeating is already in decimal form. 2 times 3.14 is 6.28. The square root of 40, which we just solved, was 6.32. We just solved that on the last problem. And then 32 divided by 5 is 6.4. So which one of those is the biggest number? 6.4, that's going to be our biggest number. All right. Now, here's where people get confused. This is a repeating sign, right?
Yes.
So if I went one more place, what would be the next number?
A 3.
Another 3. So it's actually larger than 6.32. Because we got to remember that it's 3's repeating over and over. Yes, sir.
On the question, what do you want us to put 6.4 or would you want us to put 32 over 5?
32 over 5 would be better.
Okay.
But here, I'll show you what I would do. All right, let's say 6.3 repeating. All right, then we would have 6.32 and 6.28. All right, so what you could do here is just draw lines to show which one you're talking about. You know what I mean? That'd be okay. I'd be able to figure that out because I'm smart like that. All right, or you could write the original numbers. If it was STAR test, it would be multiple choice, but it would give you the original numbers again. So that's a good question. I'll accept either one because I'll know what you're talking about. All right. The last 2 problems are just scientific notation. It says how many zeros are needed to write the diameter of the Milky Way in standard notation. So where's the Milky Way? It's right here. All right. So yeah, we're moving it 21 times, right? You don't have to write that number. If we're moving the decimal 21 times, we're going to go 1, 2, and then how many zeros? 19. 19 is your answer. All it wants is the number of zeros. There we go. We're done. A lot of kids have missed this in the past because they don't read the question. They just automatically write it in standard form. And I don't want to count 19 zeros, so I'm just going to count it wrong. Okay? Read the question. It just wants the number of zeros. Now, the next one does want you to write it in standard form. All right? It's talking about the diameter of an insulin molecule. So we're moving the decimal to the left 9 times. So that would be 1 and how many zeros? 8. So decimal 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 5, 3. There we go. All right. Now, the biggest thing I can say, and I've already said it, but I'm going to keep saying it, the numbers tomorrow are different. So, when you're watching this video tonight, which all of you will, and you're looking over the test that I'm going to send out, all right, focus on how we got our answer, not what the answer was. Okay? This is your first unit test with me. All right? Everybody did really well on that first quiz. I'm hoping that we can continue that trend. All right? Awesome.